you doing? What you investigating today? Chipmunks? Thought I heard some chipmunk chattering over there. That one chipmunk still don't like you, I don't think. You pissed him off royally one day. He was reading you the fucking riot act from up there. Straight up riot act. That's what you get.
Dinor didn't even care though.
No, Dinor just sat there like, what? You gonna talk or are we gonna dance? Because I'm ready to chase. That chipmunk was up there like, that son of a bitch in the yard down there. Angry little chipmunk, man. Pissed.
No chunky birds yet.
I mean, if you look at these little turds, though, for what they are, they're kind of meatball chunky.
Yeah. But Dinor has a specific line of I don't give a shit about a bird.
Yeah, there's a size of chunky bird that gets him going, gets him revved up. Howdy, Paul. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, buddy. I'm okay. Just waking up. Enjoying some coffee and a cigarette. Dee 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 dee. It's interesting. I think it's fun for me to see how I'm received in communities that aren't used to me. I like when I go on these, when I pop into Destiny stream and stuff. I gotta be honest with you guys, I can't even remember how I started. I think how I started going on Destiny. I think like somebody in here sent him some clip of me talking about, no, because that was the second time I went on. I can't even remember how I got on the first time, to be honest. I think I might have just, oh, you know what it was? It was, I said something on Twitter. I made a joke about him on Twitter or something, and then somebody was like, hey, Steven says you should hit him up. And it was just some rando. Said Steven was watching this and said you should hit him up. So I guess maybe he watched something or went over some tweet I made, didn't like it, said he wants to talk to me, and then I DM'd him. But anyway, like, however it happened, it's interesting to me. The most interesting part of it to me is to see somebody react, to see a group of people react to me that hasn't seen me before. Because I think I'm a confusing personality for a lot of people. Like, in Destiny's community, I feel like I'm confusing because I'm not trying to win. Like, I don't think of conversation as a game that a person wins, right? I don't care about how I'm perceived in the moment, right? I'm not like constantly checking my correctness or whatever. I just have conversations. And that's interesting to me. Woof. Let's just go ahead and end this bullshit. Whole ass fucking chat is like gown. We'll put an end to that though. Literal bot behavior going on, dude. I'm okay. Need to get some of this coffee up in me, though. I feel a little sluggish. Where's the preacher bots? They can't get, they got to subscribe and sit quiet for a minute before they get to talk. I turned on the monkey button already because, like, I looked away for a minute and was just kind of talking, and then I looked back at the chat and it was literally filled with, "Hi, I'm from here," bots. I used to think those people were actually, like, people, where they're like, apropos of nothing, like, "Hey, I'm from Michigan." You know, I used to think, like, oh, this is probably like an older person that doesn't do the internet much. Cool. And now I know that it's just like, it's just botted, right? Yep. And Jeff Tuttle is proof that the bots will hit the subscriber button. Like, they'll subscribe to you. But as you can see, you know what I mean? You turn on the subscribe button and like 99% of the people that skibbity through your shit can't figure out how to do it. But yeah, no, I mean, fucking, I mean, like, look at Jeff Tuttle, right? He's subscribed to me. Let's take a look at the channel activity on Jeff Tuttle. Hello from Detroit, Michigan, USA. So first time ever in a stream, first time speaking in a stream, in a stream, he says bot shit about how he's from Michigan, and then he mentions cigarettes. And this is post having to hit the monkey button to speak. So, you know, obviously the sophistication of these engagement type of botting things is higher than the kind of like weak ass net that we can put up as content creators from it. If we're trying to do, you know what I mean? We're trying to do like chat interactive stuff, right? It's interesting. Yeah, dude. Not a bot, by the way. So you'd think that like that should be apparent from the fact that you don't type like a bot. But if I click on you, right, go to your channel activity, you've literally never interacted in this stream, and your two interactions is not a bot, by the way, and hi from Florida. See what I mean? A learning computer. up, G? What you think, D? What you think? What you think about all this? All this nonsense. All this ridiculous nonsense, D. Quit tattletelling, Caleb. The monkey button wasn't as effective today. Yeah. Hey, you take your wins when you can get them, and you take your losses when you have to, you know. The monkey button can only do so much. I'll tell you what the problem is, and like this is just the truth. No Midnight Ghoul in the stream, you know what I mean? Midnight Ghoul is the stone cold killer of the stream. The stone cold wrench. We should make bots read Hitchhiker's Guide and Infinite Jest so they can at least be funny. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Oh, the ghoul is here. Okay, never mind. I fucking take it all back then. The ghoul is here. I am new here. Can you tell me about your channel content? It's like, who asks that, bro? Is that a bot? So they can like add target or like what is it? Do you sign up for Blue Sky? Can I get a fuck no? Can I get a fuck no? Can I get a fuck no? I took my sleeping meds and hallucinated a purple prey mantis on my microwave. That's bot shit. That's a bot comment right there. That just sounds like, you know what I mean? That's the problem, is that I think we've reached a critical mass where the overall education and communication level of the average person has reached such a sorry state that there's functionally no difference between them and a bot. That's the sad thing, right? In terms of, you know, the other side of the equation, right? The reception side, right? I'm receiving this, and it's like, okay, Schrodinger's bot, bro. You were both a bot and not a bot because of my limited ability to observe and study your state. You feel me? I think you do. The brown chair adds warmth to the room. Yeah. It's like, huh? What? What would we call it? There's a term, and I'm trying to think of it. Content aware. That's the term, right? So content aware botting you know, from at least maybe that's not the term. Maybe I'm using the wrong term, but from what I understand, content awareness in AI models or whatever is what allows ChatGPT to look at a picture and tell you about it, right? You can send it a fucking picture, send it a video, it can analyze that and tell you what goes on, right? And I don't know why we wouldn't assume that those capabilities, now that they're pretty ubiquitous, would be translated to these kind of like mass swarms of botting. You know, I think a lot of this like botting and bullshit goes under the radar because if you look at people with big communities, right, people way bigger than me, they've all moved to this like side chat kind of thing where they run their own chat. You sign up on their website, that's the chat they look at, and they just kind of like absolutely and abjectly ignore the YouTube chat. And the reason for that, presumably, is because it's overrun with bots and people who just have infinite free time and alts and bullshit, and it's hard to spin a decent conversation out of that, right? But I've, you know, for better or for worse, whether it's worth my time or not, I've spent the last couple of years, you know, or at least the last year, if you look at 2024, hitting this pretty heavy, you know what I mean? Like trying to have these types of conversations. Oh shit. Thanks, Doom Kid. Aegon Chalakian. Oh no. Not Chalakian, bro. Anybody but Chalakian. I am a particle physicist. My name is A. Egon Chalakian. See what I mean? Let me see. Oh, I don't even fucking know. Mr. Anderson. Yeah, I've done the THC drinks or whatever the fuck. They're not worth my time, but whatever. If you're a tourist and you're just like, hey, I want to get stoned and drink a soda at the same time, you can do that, probably. As long as your tolerance is like kindergarten level, you could go get one of those like, you know, 3 milligram dose weed sodas or whatever and drink that, and you might get a head change off of it. My name is Franklin Wilburson. What brand of cigarettes do you smoke? Hi from Taiwan. What brand of cigarette is that? Hi from Florida. What brand of cigarette do you smoke? Hi, I'm from India. Beard, glasses. It's like, well, that's part of the problem, dude. That was part of the problem, like and I think it's still ongoing, right? It's like these weed companies can't shake free of the desire to be cool and stonery in ways that arguably are meant to appeal to people who are lower on the age range, right? So, like, you know, naming these things and packaging these things like candy, I think is a problem. I do. I think if they were making beers that way, right? They were making liquor and packaging it like a grape soda and calling it fantasy magical juice drink or whatever the fuck, right? I think people would probably have a problem with that because they'd say, like, who's that even fucking marketed to, right? But in the weed industry, for some reason, I, as a grown ass adult, if I go to, you know, especially certain like mainstream stores, I'm assaulted with hubba bubba, grimace shake, no cap. You know, it's just like fucking clearly aimed at like teenagers and people that in their younger 20s, right? And I don't necessarily have a problem with it personally, but I do think it's going to be a problem in the future. Like, I do think it's like in the future it's going to be used as ammunition against the idea of broader legalization. Because they're going to go like, look at what they did. We deregulated enough. We allowed these companies to exist and to market this stuff. And look at what they did. They put cartoon characters all over it. They disguised it as other like candies that a kid would grab. Not that I'm saying that like that's happening a lot, but it's just like, why give ammo? Why not grow the fuck up and realize that, you know what I mean? You're in a different game now, right? Weed being packaged that way and alternatively and stuff in an illegal environment never would have happened. Too flashy, too attention calling, right? It was a sack and a dude that you knew who knew a dude or was the dude, right? And you get your weed. It just never would have come about. And the fact that as soon as they deregulate it to the level that they allow these weed companies to exist, these weed companies start churning out pink packaging with teddy bears on it. And it's like what what are you doing? Like, why give ammunition? You know what I mean?
D, where's your ball? I went through it, but you didn't bring it back.
Where's your bow? Go get your bow.
Did you lose it?
Is it because there's a lot of leaves over there and they look the same color? I bet if you go check, you can find your ball.
I don't know. I'd say that there's some alcohol, like drinks that are on that same kind of line. They'll have like cotton candy vodka. And
Yeah,
shit.
but I mean, like, the packaging, though, right, of that cotton candy vodka is standard vodka bottle.
I mean, they'll have pink on it and stuff.
Right, it'll have pink on the label or whatever the fuck, but I don't know, maybe you're right. Maybe I'm overthinking it. It just turns me the fuck off when I walk into a place and I see that the front products that they're trying to sell you are all of these, you know, pastel colors and little anime characters on the bag and little this and little of that. It just feels like they're inviting criticism, right? That just doesn't apply. Like, if you're underage, you can't even get in the fucking lobby of one of these places. Like, I don't know how it works in other places, but here in California, when you go to a dispensary to buy weed, right? There's a big burly security dude standing outside that will check your ID.
Or if he doesn't, then the person
Right.
at the desk will, but they won't let you even see the weed until you
Yeah, you don't
scan
even
it.
get to lay eyes on the weed until they've verified your age.
Yeah.
And
Either
verified.
security or the front desk
Right.
or both.
Or both. Yeah, a lot of times you'll get checked by the security guy before they let you in the lobby. And then you know, if there's a line, you wait in line until you get up to the front desk person. They do a secondary check. So it's like, why would you market things that are clearly, like, to me, some of this stuff is clearly aimed at like teenagers and shit. But there's no way for a teenager to even get within 200 feet of the building without somebody going, hey, what are you doing? You know what I mean? I don't get it.
Would you say that like the concern would be more like after someone's already bought it that their kid might think it's candy or something if they leave it
No.
out?
No, because if you are dumb enough to buy a thing that is weed skit, like, number one, you can't buy that shit in California. I don't know if you've noticed.
Yeah.
They don't sell, like, that type of shit is, well, at least it's not sold in shops.
Yeah.
This type of, like, oh, it looks like a pack of Skittles, but it's weed, right? If you're dumb enough as a parent to purchase that and leave it out, that could have been any number of substances, right? It's the same. It's not that I'm afraid that kids are going to see it and go like candy and eat a fistful of nugs. It's like, what's the marketing idea behind putting cartoon characters and like the kind, because like maybe I'm just boomerish on what I consider to be young adult marketing versus adult marketing. You know what I mean? I mean, I do talk a lot of times about how it seems like, generationally speaking, people now have a harder time letting go of their childhood. And so maybe marketing to people into their 30s with like double bubble anime character weed. You know what I mean? Maybe that works better than I'm giving it credit for, but I just don't understand it.
Like this is what I'm talking about, like with the vodka, blue raspberry.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like, it's a good point. It needs to grow the fuck up. Well, I mean, I gotta be honest with you. Being in California, there are different types of weed shops for different types of potheads, right? So far, my favorite weed shop in California was in Crescent City, dude. I loved that little grimy, this is clearly just made for stoners kind of mentality, right? There wasn't like a bunch of upselling. There wasn't a bunch of double bubble berry zebra mix cartoon character bullshit. They weren't playing Future. Not that I have a problem with, them playing, but it's just like, dude, the whole vibe in there is like, this is a place where teens hang. It's like, I'm talking about cookies, honestly. If you're in California and you've ever been to a cookies dispensary, bro, my old ass walks in there and I'm just like, what the fuck am I even doing in this place, bro? It literally looks like the type of shop that if there wasn't weed in there, my ass would just never even find myself accidentally in it. And it's like, what is this?
Playing top hits on the radio.
I mean, not just top hits, playing like shit that's popular with 15-year-olds, right? On the thing. All of the branding and merchandising is this pastel pinks, pastel blues, cartoon characters. You know what I mean? It's like, what am I doing in this fucking place, right? And why does this exist? The cookies here in Montana, and I agree, it's over the top corporation weed. I mean, it definitely is a super hyper corporate brand or whatever. That's not the problem I have with it, though.
Yeah, so they don't just sell cookies at Cookies here in Cali.
No, they sell their own boutique brand and then a number of boutique brands that fit with their aesthetic, which, as far as I can tell, that's what I'm talking about, right? As far as I can tell is, this is a cool place for teens. It's like, what? Is it true weed destroys the developing mind? I think that's a little bit like, over, I think that's putting a little bit too much weight on the statement, but yes, studies have been done that smoking weed at developmental periods in your teens and stuff, right? When a lot of stoners start smoking weed, by the way, incidentally speaking, it can change your brain chemistry, right?
It's the same with alcohol.
Well, yeah, any kind of drug you're taking, you know what I mean? If you take If you're introducing a recreational drug into your life, right, at a time when your brain is still like 3/4 developed, there's, you know, whatever you do is going to harm that process in some way, right?
But at the same time, brains don't really stop developing. Like, you're still building neural pathways and shit well into your adulthood.
Right.
It's not like you get stunted by weed brain and then your brain just stops.
Right. And I'm sure it's different for some people, right? I'm sure it's like a case by case basis as well. And it's one of those things that's hard to ethically test. Like, how do you ethically test it or get any kind of results that don't rely on self-reporting?
Yeah, because it's like, are the people that start smoking and drinking earlier already behind?
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
Are they more likely to have mental illnesses that also change their brain and shit?
Yeah. My friend who gets medical knew they were going to clamp down on advertising packaging here when another patient complained they didn't have his smiling gorilla in stock, like a child whining. Well, that's what I'm talking about. That's a different subject, though, and I don't want to be Mr. Boomer wagging his finger today. I don't feel like, because I understand how it comes off to young people when I go, like, what the fuck is going on, right? And that is the purview of old men, too, to look at the youth and go, like, I don't understand you. But, like, I'm kind of, like, not even really looking at the youth. I'm looking at people that are, like, 25, 30, that are still kind of, like, seem steeped in this, like, child meme culture, right? And that's how they market to you. I think that's the answer to my question. Why, when I walk into a Cookies, does it look like a cool place for 13-year-olds to hang out, right?
That's because it's just the more popular mentality among young 20-somethings.
It's maybe arrested development or delayed development or just like a cultural shift that has caused people to kind of like hold on to their childhoods.
Well, by contrast, too, I feel like there's more infantilizing of young 20-somethings.
Oh, fuck yeah. Well, that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
There are people, like I had a person on Twitter, this was not recent, but this was years ago when you and I first got together, who talked about, like, they made a whole post about me being a groomer, right? I'm a literal pedophile because I'm dating somebody that's 22.
Which is just like, when could people be adults finally?
Right. So at what point, like, so...
Like, I've seen people describe, like, oh, young 20-somethings, they haven't figured out how to be adults yet. It's like, a lot of them have, like, how much more...
A lot of them are raising children.
Yeah.
So it's like,
They
shut
have
the fuck up.
jobs, they're fucking...
You looking at your failure to launch cousin or friend or whatever the fuck and thinking that's how all 20-year-olds are, right? That's a problem.
Paying their own bills and shit. It's like...
Right. I would venture to say that most people in that age range are, at the very least, doing the lion's share of supporting themselves.
Yeah. At least working, even if they're not living.
So at what point are you going to stop infantilizing a person, right? I get it, right? There is a line. If I, as a 44-year-old dude, all of a sudden I show up on stream and this is my freshly turned 18 girlfriend who hasn't even graduated high school yet, right? That's a little bit fucking suspect, right? And it's definitely not something that I would even consider. But 20-somethings being treated like they're fucking 16 is wild. Wild. And I just think that's part of the problem. It's like, but where did the infantilization start? And what do we do to counter it? Like, will it just naturally kind of counter itself? Because it's not helping anyone to
Maybe
be stuck.
Stems from, like, how poor education has gotten to where, like, people going into college in their 20s are still, like, acting like... I think that's probably where most of the perception comes from, is, like, college students and not necessarily So that's probably the place where older and younger adults mix the most. It's like out of college.
That's probably correct. I just don't know. I don't know. I mean, this is on one hand, who fucking cares, right? There are bigger problems. On the other hand, it's like I think a lot of those problems could be traced, at least tangentially, to people not being mature enough to handle things in their lives, right? So
It's the chicken and the egg
right,
conundrum.
right,
Are they acting more youthful because they're being infantilized, or are they being infantilized because more of them are acting youthful?
right, yeah. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. Maybe there are studies that would avail me of that answer, but I can't imagine. There's been enough time to study this phenomenon, right? But I never hear anybody talking about it, and I wonder why. The infantilization, like both, kind of like the infantilization that is improperly put on to young people by older people, and then the infantilization that seemingly is adopted by younger adults, where they make the decision to continue like to continue holding on to these childhood dude, there are 30-year-olds out there posting SpongeBob memes and shit. It's wild to me.
Do you think the kidification of YouTube has anything to do with it? Like more of these creators like following the monetization line and not talking
Oh,
about
the
mature
way that we have to,
topics?
we're back in another era of YouTube where if you really want to worry about your monetization, you have to bleep curse words.
Yeah.
And it's just like, bro, there's a whole fucking thing where it's like, is this content for people under the age of 18? And you say no, and I still gotta bleep curse words for whose benefit?
Because it's actually under the age of 13, not 18, which is retarded.
But it says when I create the content, do you want to limit this content to people over the age of 18?
Yeah. But then you do the 18 plus, and then your monetization's fucked.
Well, that's retarded. So it's like, so wait a minute. So now, do advertisers not want to advertise to young adults?
They want to also advertise from the 13 to 18.
Well,
too.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Maybe that's part of the problem then.
Yeah.
Maybe you guys have just followed advertisers who are like, you know what? You know how we have to like worry when this group of people grow up? Like, how are we going to advertise to them? Let's just keep putting SpongeBob on it. And maybe you guys have just leaned into it. Like, oh, everything's still SpongeBob in my life, so.
Yeah, they need to raise that age. Like, it shouldn't be like completely okay to track all these 13 to 17-year-olds.
I gotta get to the bottom of like the nausea shit. I don't know what it is, but that was a horrible bout of it. Ooh. This comes out of fucking nowhere too.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem to have like a big tie. Like you have non-nauseous mornings where you haven't eaten.
Yeah. I don't know. Just fucking blow my head off, bro. Get some ginger ale in ya. I ate some ginger in there. It can help to intercede or whatever the fuck, but
Is it the stopping and starting that gets to you?
it's the whole thing. It depends on the type of leaf blower that's being used. There's one gardening group around here where the dude has one in backpack ones.
Yeah.
He just leaves it wide open. This is a smaller handheld one. And what I'm hoping is he's just using it to clean out the fucking garden boxes or something, and that'll be that. But there's a good chance this will be an hour's worth of that blaring wide open in my fucking ear.
You won't like it either, D.
Hell no. He don't like it. He don't like it at all. Such a chain.
We gotta get sponsored by their little track and collar company.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you didn't even notice a squirrel running by.
That's good. That would have been catastrophic.
Might come back though.
It might. Do you smell the squirrel? I think he smells it,
And now he's facing the fence.
right? What a goof. Does D get cold easily? I mean, he doesn't have an undercoat. So he's a breed of dog that isn't really designed for cold weather. But when he's kind of like grown out, he's got way more insulation. But yeah, I mean, he gets cold pretty easy. That's why we put a sweater on him.
Yeah, at least until he's like full floof.
Even then,
Yeah.
you know, if it's real cold outside, like his floof doesn't really do much for him. It insulates a little bit, but if it's extra cold, he's got no undercoat to like, you know, change any of that or like insulate any of that away. So
We need to get him a onesie to cover his little butt
oh yeah,
and his legs.
we're gonna look into some different technologies is what we're gonna do. Okay, we're gonna do that.
The biggest problem with him is he's weirdly shaped. Like we tried getting like little coats, but they just were too big. So we were trying to fit his barrel chest.
Yeah, no, he's an oddly shaped dog. He is a mutant.
You think there should be like a little doggy clothing store where you could try stuff on?
Oh yeah, for sure.
I bet there's something like that in LA or some shit.
Yeah. Maybe they send you some sort of template garment to put on your dog, and then you take some pictures of different angles. They put it into a computer and like design the perfect covering for your dog's shape. I bet something like that exists.
Or it should.
Hey, thanks for the $10, by the way. That was very kind of you out of nowhere. Was that $10 to celebrate the end of the leaf blower?
Or was it to buy Dino sweater?
Was it to get? Yeah, we'll put that in the Dino sweater jar. Although he likes his Pinkie Pie sweater very much.
Yeah.
That's his favorite sweater for sure. I think it's probably his most comfy sweater.
Mm-hmm. It fits him the most perfectly out of everything he has.
Yeah.
We just maybe need to like measure that sweater intensely, like get one of those soft tape measures so we can like do the chest measurements exactly.
Yeah, maybe so. Hi, good morning, Paul Amelia chat. Good morning. Yeah, but I don't know, we're gonna look into some technologies for Dynor. Does D have a doggy bed? Yes, and he spins around before he lies in it. Yes, he does. He has both of those. He's a dog, you know what I mean? So he does dog things most of the time.
Yeah. I will say though that since we've started being at home, he has not teared up his bed.
Yeah, that is true. He used to murder his bed because, like, he doesn't like being alone. Or he doesn't like it when we're not around. That's a better way to put it. Mm-hmm. And so he would, like, we had this fluffy bed thing for him, and he would rip the fluff out of it. And then I would stuff the fluff back in it, right? He hasn't done that.
Yeah, ever since COVID started and you stopped going to work at the studio.
Yep.
You don't care.
I think COVID was the best thing that ever happened to D.
Yeah.
Because he got what he has always wanted, which is mom and dad are, you know what I mean, home all the time. Oh, thanks, man.
I think Cricket probably helps a little too. He has a little friend.
Yeah.
Because there was a while where it was just him and like some hamsters and shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't really friends with the hamsters.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even think he knew they existed.
Yeah.
I don't even think he registered them as an actual being. I think he thought they were a little a toy or something, just like a little thing. I don't know. My girl and I are homebodies as well. COVID hardly affected us other than when we caught it ourselves. Yeah, I mean, it definitely affected us, but we rapidly acclimated ourselves to how things are done.
Shaped our wedding.
For what it was, for what it was worth. Yeah, that poor wedding. It's kind of sad, but.
No, it's not sad.
I mean, it was. Yeah, it's not. You're right. It's not sad. It just happened during COVID. So.
Yeah, so we just didn't feel the same pressure to do the whole shebang. We had an excuse to not do the whole shebang.
I guess so.
I don't know if you even wanted to do a whole shebang again.
I don't know. I think it would be cool to do once we've established where we live. Yeah. To do a thing where it's like, hey guys,
10-year anniversry
or whatever it is, right? And we do something like, hey, I understand that traveling is tough, but Amelia and I would really appreciate it if you guys came. We would like the opportunity to celebrate our marriage. We didn't get the chance to do that in the traditional way because we got married during COVID. And we would love to have you guys come to us and do a family thing, right? I think that would be cool, right? We could even have, my brother-in-law do a little ceremony if you want. You know what I mean? Whatever. Yeah. We've already got the license and everything, so the ceremony part of it, I think, I don't know. I just think it would be cool to bring the families together, because that's the part of the wedding that,
Yeah.
having been through a kind of like expensive traditional wedding in my life, that was the part of it that I appreciated. Was that it was an excuse for my closest family and her closest family to be in the same room together for a long time and get to know each other and like blend that family up a little bit. And I think that that's the biggest negative of COVID for us, is that our families don't know each other.
Yeah.
As a result, right?
Well, one of them does. Like my dad's met
Your
your
dad,
parents.
yeah, your dad has met my parents, but you know, your mom, your stepdad, your siblings don't really know my family, and vice versa. So it would be cool once we're settled somewhere for us to put together something like that, where it's like, hey, and whoever comes, comes. And it's not, you know, no judgment if you can't. I understand, but it's just like, I travel for people all the time. Oh, you gotta come. Somebody's sick. You gotta come. Somebody's getting married, right? I've done it. So it's like, I don't ask much. Can I cash one in? We aren't going to do a traditional marriage either. Her parents are very upset about it, but oh well, it's about us. Yeah. I mean, don't let anybody outside of you and your partner have any input on the structure of that, or because honestly, dude, at the end of the fucking day, can I tell you something, bro? And I'm not trying to shit on it. But my first marriage, that wedding was an insane gauntlet, right? And I wasn't even really all that involved. But it was just an insane gauntlet of not just shit that had to be done and people that had to be contacted and this and that, but an insane expenditure as well. I mean, it was just like, fuck. Just more expensive every second.
You gotta cater, you gotta get these flowers,
Caterers,
these
chairs, the decorations for the chairs, the flowers for the arch. You gotta pay the fucking pastor. You gotta pay the, you know, I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on. It was crazy, right? And do you know what? Not a single person in my life that was at that wedding has ever approached me and gone like, man, I remember that wedding. That was awesome. That wedding was fucking so memorable. And
yeah,
like
even
so,
when you were still married,
right.
they didn't.
No, not one. So it's like, who do we do that for? Right? We could have got, like, cause like my whole thing was, we got married at Pismo. If we were gonna do the big ceremony, I wanted the church to be the ocean.
Yeah.
That was all the input I had. We could have done that by hiring that hippie fucking pastor to come down and take his shoes off and get in the sand with us. Go to, you know what I mean? And so to me,
Just get you could even take advantage of the furniture that's already there. Like you could do it on the pier and take advantage of all their
fuck
tables
the
and
furniture. Make it a quick ceremony where it's more about the ritual and less about the pomp and the circumstance. You stand there. Your closest family is on one side. My closest family's on the other. He goes, do you, do you? We say yes. We smooch each other as the sun goes down. And we all go to
a restaurant.
We all go to a
shit.
fucking restaurant that we booked out ahead of time. Spend a little money there and have a fucking reception. Boom. Right? And that would have been like dirt cheap. Dirt.
In comparison, for sure.
Oh my God, in comparison. But yeah, just dirt cheap in general, right? No. I mean, it was the rehearsal dinner before the wedding. Book out a whole restaurant for that. Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. Fuck, bro.
You think the rehearsal is the most pointless part?
It's just tradition. If you're not having a wedding where there's a big bunch of like ceremony for your groomsmen and bridesmaids and stuff, if they're just going to be standing there waiting for you guys to walk out, then what's the point of a fucking rehearsal dinner? You don't rehearse the wedding. The idea is you get together with your groomsmen and bridesmaids and tell them like what's going on so that everybody knows. But like that could be a text. We could call it the rehearsal text. And it costs $0. You know what I mean?
And it's not like it's a performance for an audience.
It comes off that way, though.
Yeah.
It really does. It's like people treat it that way, I feel like. or at least like it felt that way to me. It's like, man, this is just theater basically but it's, I guess it's for me and my partner, but it's also like, it seems like it's more for the people that are here, which is felt kind of weird.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was something that caused some like animosity during the planning of the wedding, because I didn't know how to properly say, like, look, I'm not invested in all of the pomp and the circumstance. I think we could just do it small and have it be intimate and just about us. And me trying to get that across as a 20 something, right? It didn't come out right. I'll tell you exactly what I said. Baby, I would marry you in a dumpster. Right? And in my thought process,
That was like a romantic.
right, I was saying, like, it ain't about that. It's about you and me. But in her mind, it was, oh, so all the planning and bullshit that I've been doing and all the money we've been saving and spending means nothing to you. Great. Right? And I get it. You know what I mean? It's just like one of those men are from Mars, women are from Venus things, I think, mostly. But he is cold. He needs to go. Where does the term shotgun wedding come from? So shotgun wedding is a wedding where the bride is already pregnant. The idea is, and this is actually kind of funny, right? The idea is the father-in-law got a shotgun and was
He's
like,
saying you got to marry now.
right, he was like, congratulations, son, you're part of the family, with the shotgun in his hand. You think you're gonna knock up the daughter and disappear? That ain't happening. So that's a shotgun wedding.
Yeah, it's basically locking them in so that
Right.
there's at least a beginning of support.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's happening whether the dude and the chick likes it or not. The shotgun's at her too, right? She doesn't get to go like, I don't want to marry him. And they're like, nope, you fucked up. You got a kid on the way now.
You gotta lock it in.
Right?
But I feel like they've gotten less common for sure.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot more people that have kids that aren't married.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Even if they're together, they still might not marry.
Very true. Yeah. Yeah, that is increasingly common. I think a lot of people on the cultural side of things would say the decay of the nuclear family, right? I just think it's like an expression of the abundance that we've created for ourselves as a species, right? I think marriage traditionally, getting a woman pregnant, settling down, was the best life insurance policy a person could get.
Yeah.
And it was the only thing that ensured that that person was a productive member of society.
Yeah, like when women had less opportunity, marriage was
Right.
how she got along.
Right. That's how they survived. That was, and like, that's how animals survive, right? And so, like, us separating ourselves from the state of nature has allowed us to explore different arrangements between ourselves. And I don't see that as a bad thing, but a lot of cultural ideologues would, right? They would say it's a decay. I would say it's a natural outcropping of more freedom for humanity, right?
What do you think about the argument that some women are pressured to be single mothers based on the benefits, like social benefits?
How so?
Like where they can get Medicaid if they're a single poor mother.
Yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot of people that are like, I'm going to get knocked up so I can get Medicaid. But yeah, I mean, maybe some. I doubt that. I mean, having a baby is pretty uniformly, and the people that don't think it's going to fucking change their lives utterly and for always find out within like an hour of the baby arriving that is the case. It's like, okay, yeah, my whole fucking life and the shit I used to care about, it either doesn't matter now or I'm going to be a neglectful, shitty parent, right? Those are it's one or the other. I actually met a few women like that. Well, that's different. Baby trapping a dude or whatever. Number one.
Well, that's implying that you want to stay together. We're
Right.
talking about pressure to be a single mother.
Be a single mother so that you can get the social benefit of it. I don't think that the social benefits of
Is
single
big enough.
motherhood outstrip the fucking craziness. So anybody that does that, I think, probably got a raw deal.
Yeah.
There's tax breaks for legal marriage. You have to understand that is complex, though, right?
Yeah,
It's
it's not
not.
like we pay a whole lot less
No,
taxes because we file together.
no, it's not. It's not necessarily a tax break. What it avails you of are tax options that are not available to a single person with no dependents, right? It's not necessarily a tax break. It's tax leverage. When they're calculating how much you owe, you get a little bit more fucking leverage than a person that's single with no dependents.
Yeah, like you get a bigger standard deduction
Mhm.
because it's combining the two deductions.
But calling it like a tax break is kind of like missing the point of it. It's a tax arrangement, and often it's kind of sad, but oftentimes people find that it is a better arrangement financially for them to get divorced, even though they still love each other. Divorce on paper, like on paper divorce, so that you can apply for Medicaid or whatever the fuck.
Because yeah, like once you file jointly, they consider both of you having that money.
Yeah, yeah. I'm Canadian. You get more money on your northern living allowance if you're married with children. I don't know the American system. Yeah,
Well, yeah,
we
there's-
don't get any living allowance. Number one,
we get credits for children.
right? There are tax credits for children, right? So these are meant to offset in some small way, and oftentimes insufficiently so, the price of raising a child, right? A lot of people, I think, argue that it incentivizes people who otherwise maybe wouldn't raise children to have big families, right? I don't know if I agree with that, but I do think it's a dangerous precedent to set in a society that has a crumbling education system, right? Where people are like measurably getting stupider year to year to have a big bunch of kids when you have no plan to fucking help take care of them. You're going to do the bare basics. You're going to be a shit parent. You're going to be like an absentee parent or whatever. There's so much of that. There's this narrative that like, people will throw out there, and I understand it, right? It's this idea that, all right, guy and a girl meet, they fuck, they're not really thinking about the consequences. Both of them are messing around, they're young, and then they have this baby, and that forces them to mature and come together and figure it out, right? And does that happen? Sure. But you know what also happens? Guy and girl get together, messing around, they got their own shit going on, they fuck, they don't think about the consequences. Girl comes up pregnant, has a moral opposition to go into getting a fucking,
or just doesn't have
the opportunity to get a fucking abortion or intercede in it in any way. And dude decides like, fuck this, I'm moving to a different county, and he just does, and now it's tied up in the courts, and he's just skipping out, and she's stuck with a baby that she didn't want in the first place, and she's got very little help. And so that baby isn't raised right. It's raised maybe malnourished, or even worse, like mentally malnourished, right? Like,
because there's guys that'll like make less money on purpose. They don't have to pay as much child support.
There's all kinds of like warfare that goes on between people where the chess pieces are their children. And so like for every, example like that perfect case scenario where two people get together, they're thrust into a situation that forces them to figure shit out, and they end up being okay parents for a kid. They give a kid a decent start, right? Yeah, does that happen? Yes. But I think for every one of those, there's 3 of these others. And that's the problem. Yeah, the whole teen mom shit, there's a reason why
they fought it so hard.
They fought it so hard, right? Yeah. There's a reason why there was so much social investment into trying to get kids, especially in the 90s. Well, there was that plus AIDS, right? Mm-hmm. But it's still the same idea, right? It just statistically does not work out well for mom, dad, and baby when it's 2 14-year-olds trying to fucking have a baby or whatever the fuck, right? It just is bad all the way around statistically. Does it work out for some? Sure. 100%. Some people fucking have a capacity that would surprise you to step up and to work through adversity and to end up okay. But, right? Like, let's be honest, a lot of people don't. I'm thankful that my parents were really kind of smart about it. Because my childhood would have been a very different thing. Like, my parents got married. My dad was 18. My mom was 16, right? With parental consent. This was way more common in their era, right? They were married in the early 60s. And my dad immediately joined the Army, and my mom lived on base in the spousal housing, right? And I've talked to my parents about it, and there was a lot of social pressure on them to have a baby immediately, right? Oh, when are we gonna hear the pitter patter of little feet? My mom's 16, my dad's 18, and in basic, right? And they're already getting calls and letters going like, when are we gonna get grandbabies, right? My parents waited. My dad did his whole time in the military. He rotated out, joined the civilian sector, got a fucking blue collar job. My mom did the same, kind of moved back to California, worked it out, right? Got their house built the way that they wanted, and then they had me. So it was 7 years between my parents getting married and having me. And I'm thankful for that. I think that was like an uncharacteristically smart decision given the time, right? Oh, thank you, baby. She.
That is the weirdest little quirk about Chinese, is that your welcome is not polite. Literally.
Yeah. Yeah. How close was your dad to being in Vietnam? Very, very, very close. Vietnam was like, when he got to the service, there were still American troops there, but they were rotating home, right? They were in the process of de-escalating and dismantling the war effort in Vietnam. And so he was told when he signed up that he may go. My mom's brother, who is just 4 or 5 years older than my father, did 2 tours in Vietnam.
And then your dad's brother.
My dad's brother.
Your stepdad.
My stepdad. All of these people served, right? Well, my stepdad didn't. He didn't serve in Vietnam. He's around my dad's age, a little younger, so he had the same military experience. He went into the Army at a time where he could have been if things popped back off there, but the worm had turned. America was coming home from that. And so they just happened to be just that age where they couldn't enlist by the time that they were, there was a whole lot. But like I said, my uncle, my mom's older brother, 5 years older than my dad, 4 years, something like that, did 2 tours, right? So they just missed it. And then, once again, on the other end of it, just too old when the next 2001, 2002,
or the 90s, I guess, would be a better comparison.
No.
With that first.
Operation Desert Storm under Bush 1. Yeah.
That would have been.
I remember my dad. I remember my dad talking about it. It scared the pants off of me. But I remember him talking not to me, but to somebody watching the TV. It was just a get together of adults, and I was sitting on the couch, fucking reading a book or something, and I heard him say like, "Man, I hope I don't get that call. I hope this just stays like whatever size it is." Because my dad was right in that age where it's like, if it popped off over there and they were mobilizing America like they did in Afghanistan just a few years later, he'd have been right there. You know what I mean? So, like people that were born in that era, lucky, right? Honestly, lucky. I was lucky, right? Because 9/11 happened. I was 21 years old. It's like prime conscript age.
But I think Vietnam just kind of turned them off of like the actual draft orders.
Well, because there was so much civil resistance to it, right? It was one of the most acrimonious things about the Vietnam War was the idea of sending conscripts to die. And so many families kind of like patriotically, and to their credit maybe, had a stiff upper lip when their kids were called up and then had them come home in a flag draped coffin if they were lucky. Something of them came home a lot of times. Fucked. But yeah, 9/11, just that attack alone kind of precluded the need for conscripts. Because among people my age, there was an instantaneous movement towards, I'm joining up, I'm going in. And my ass was not.
Probably the same with World War II. Like after Pearl Harbor was hit, there's probably a big flow of people.
Yeah.
It feels different when it's that close.
Yeah. It's just weird. It's just odd to think about for me, Conscript soldiers tend to be unmotivated. Volunteers tend to be better quality. Sure. I think a lot of that has to do with informed consent too. I think that the argument to be made is there really, and by the way, the sun feels fucking amazing today. I just want to sit out here for the next 3 hours and enjoy this because this is beautiful. I think that there's a lot of economic pressure for young people to join up into these military services, right? So a person could get into the military thinking I'm probably not going to be on the front lines of nothing, right? Yeah, but I need this college. I need this fucking, GI Bill, right?
I need the VA benefits after whatever.
I'm looking to start, or I'm looking to get educated in a certain type of technology, and I want to have a military background and then go into something civilian, right? There's all of these angles where a person would consider joining an army, right? Being a volunteer soldier in an army, and then holy shit, they're in the shit, and they don't want to be there, right? They're not committed to it because they never thought properly that would be the end result of them joining, right?
It's a risky investment.
That's what the Coast Guard is for. I gotta tell you, dude, if you look into it, in 9/11, tons and tons of Coast Guard and National Guardsmen were called up and sent to die.
And when you sign up for the military, you're kind of giving up your rights to say no.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, if the fucking country is mobilizing and you're part of a branch of the military, your ass is going to war. Whether you're manning a fucking machine gun in a trench or flying a drone from a base on a boat fucking 100 miles away, that's kind of up to luck and your abilities and aptitudes and how you got into the fucking military and what training you had when the shit popped off, right? A lot of that's going to change your MOS.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like they took every single Coast Guard, but they were not safe.
No. No, they called up tons of National Guard and sent them to be support troops in Iraq, and support troops were hit almost the hardest by the insurgency because the insurgency wasn't direct. They would put this big shield of machine gun guys out there, but they were fighting an insurgency. So these people were setting up IEDs on roads and shit, waiting for, the main body of the military people to pass and then blowing up convoys and shit. So it's a lot of these truck drivers and people that were doing supply line running, supporting these bases, those are the people that died, like, well, they didn't die more than the people on the front line, but they were not in the rear with the gear, as Stanley Kubrick said in Full Metal Jacket. They mention it frequently in Basic. They call it unlimited responsibility. We have to put our country before self. Well, that's part of, you know what I mean? And I'm not necessarily saying good, bad, or otherwise. I don't want to offend no military people that are here. I got a military family. I just got done telling you, dude. Like, I'm like probably the first generation of males in my family that has no military service, right? And so I come from a military family and all of that. But basic training is about teaching you to be immediately subservient, because that is what is needed of you as a soldier. So if your platoon commander says, pick up your fucking gun and run that way and shoot everything that's coming at us, you do it. You don't go like, sir, you know what I mean? Like,
they don't want you to hesitate.
Right. And they don't want you thinking like an individual, and they want to dampen your self-preservation instinct by maximizing your community instinct and localizing it, right, to your platoon, your squad. These are your fucking family now, right? They'll even say that. That family you left behind, fuck them. This is your family now. This is your mother and your father and your sister and your brother, right? And they drill that into you, and any kind of individualistic thinking is so harshly punished that you get into a mode where you just don't think that way anymore. You wake up in the morning and you wait for your commanding officer to tell you what's what. What are you going to do today, right? Well, that's the thing. That's why I didn't want this to come off as entirely critical. If you're going to send men and women into a fucking war zone, you can't
have a debate.
You can't have all chiefs and no Indians, to use a kind of outdated expression, right? You can't have all cooks in the kitchen. There's got to be a chef, there's got to be a sous chef, and there's got to be a bunch of line cooks. Dishwashers and waiters and fucking all of that, right? It's kind of a reductive way of looking at it, but broadly, I think the analogy works. If there's a big thing, like an order comes out, right? Go and hit this target. And you've got an army filled with individualistic thinkers. The chances of that target getting hit when it still matters reduces quickly to zero, right? Because there's always going to be a dissent. Well, should we actually do this?
Shouldn't we do it this way, not this way?
I think there's a better way to do this. I think there's a better, fuck you, man. Oh, fuck you. You know what I mean? If you got all individualism, then you got no army. You just get cucked, right? And so there's, to a certain extent, this whole like breaking down of your individualism is required to make you safer in a war zone. Because the truth of the matter is, if your ass is going to be in the trench, you're better off following orders than you are ignoring them. That's just the case most of the time, right? 99% of the time.
Yeah, and you want that community so that when you're hurt, everyone's willing to help you.
Well, you're motivated to get beyond your fear, too. Yeah. When it's time to jump up and act, it's not just you wishing you could go home and hug your mom. It's you and all your buddies in the muck together. You're not just fighting, you're protecting them, too. So, you know, it's even before they get wounded, even before they're a casualty, right? But when one is a casualty, think about the effect it has on a group of people that have been broken down psychologically that way, to think as a group. It's like losing a limb, right? These people are devastated by it, but it feeds their desire, you know, for vengeance. Yeah. And that, focused through a command structure, is powerful as fuck, right? But you can only focus that kind of rage and sorrow if you've pre-prepared that human mind. You just get an individual off the street who knows if they're even going to be worth a shit if their best friend just died in an explosion.
And that's why, like, the conscripts, someone else said they weren't as good because they were getting sent whether they were compliant or not.
Yeah.
They weren't getting filtered out in basic the same way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's really your interview, I guess, is basic training.
Yes. Well, I mean, no. Your interview is like recruitment and orientation. That's where, like,
I guess it'd be more like an internship, I guess.
basic training is like you're in the shit now because they throw you right in the deep end. They make you uncomfortable, sore, battered, bruised, fucked up, tired, hungry, cold, sleep deprived, right? Immediately. Because it's just like, we're going to shock this mentality out of you and make you realize that you are just a fucking gun alone. But together, you're they use all kinds of shit. You're the most elite fighting force on the planet. But right now, like if you watch, one of the cool things about Full Metal Jacket as a movie is that Arlie Ermy, the guy that played the drill instructor in that movie, was an actual drill instructor, right? And so he was given wide latitude to treat these cadets who were all actors in the way that, he wanted it to be realistic. He wanted the men on the set to develop that real bond with one another. And so he put them through basic, right? And had Arlie Ermy as their big kind of, here's the guy you're fucking scared of, right? And you can really get a look at the type of breaking down of individualistic ego and building up of group ego, right? Or group consciousness that happens as a form of all that psychological torture and physical abuse and all of that, right? Good, bad, right, or wrong, it's utterly necessary if wars are going to be fought, right? I don't think Arlie was all that cool. His politics were pretty standard, right wing, hoorah, fucking shining city on the hill, Reagan, strong military Republican shit. I'm not, but I don't really hold people to that standard. He was brilliant in that film, and a brilliant presence just because he was authentic, right? The authenticity of him lent authenticity to an otherwise pretty privileged group of people that never had to go to war, right? None of the people that were in that movie were in war, right? They were all way too fucking young to go to Vietnam. None of them were fucking, as far as I know, professional soldiers, except for maybe some of the background people, right? But like the main characters, they're all just normal fucking people got cast in a fucking film. Arlie Ermy, right? He had that experience to make it authentic. And that's what made it cool. And notable, when people that have been through basic watch that movie, they, by and large, will tell you like, yeah, kind of, pretty much that way. Your name is taken away from you. You're stripped to a rank and file number or given like some sort of cutesy nickname based on some foible that you made. It's all about breaking down your desire to stand out as an individual. That you see that in the first half of Full Metal Jacket, right? You see it almost entirely. That's what it's about, right? You've got these people that are coming in there and they just don't understand what the fuck they've gotten themselves into. They think they're going to be funny. They think they're going to stand out. They think they're going to be the special snowflake in the group. They think they're going to be the pick-me. All right?
Do you think part of why the military was experimenting with drugs was like to induce ego death?
Yes,
maybe?
100%. I mean, that's documented.
Yeah.
So I can't remember the name of the project, but there was a psychedelic project that was done. The stated goal being to create a more pliable soldier, a more pliable asset. So kind of like a Born Identity type of thing, right? This idea that you could take a soldier, because what makes a solo operative weak? Hesitation, emotional attachment. What if you could wipe that out and create this automaton of a person whose entire existence is just kill, extract, whatever you need, right? And so they tried to do it, yeah. They fucked around with psychedelic kind of therapy and high dose psychedelic treatments and stuff. Charlie Manson was dosed by this, right? Fucking Ted Kaczynski was part of MK Ultra. If you look it up, like, and it's one of those things that like conspiracy websites will throw around, but it's a legit program, a legit covert program. There's actually footage that's been released of it because part of it was declassified, of them interviewing soldiers who are on heavy doses of psychedelics and studying like how they react to it and how pliable they become as a result of it. The military is a lot more doughy now. I imagine so, because like I kind of think, and maybe I'm wrong about that. I hope I'm wrong about this. I kind of think the days of like boots on the ground are kind of like numbered when it comes, not maybe not entirely, but traditionally, where you're sending in this giant wave of actual people in platoons. I think there's going to be like some drone shit. There's going to be some airstrike shit that kind of like precedes a lot of that kind of traditional warfare. Because America is nothing but a giant that at a glacial pace learns and adapts its military from its mistakes, right? Conscript thing caused too much internal strife. Let's get rid of that. Let's just make it more attractive for a young person to do this for other reasons.
Oh yeah, they'll invest
Right.
super hard into recruitment.
Right, done and done.
They'll send recruiters to all these high schools and they'll fucking
Right. Nation building with boots on the ground doesn't work, right? Iraq just like basically chewed up the American military and spit it back out over time, slowly and slowly and slowly, until we realized like there's no way we're going to create what we talked about creating in this fucking
in
place.
Afghanistan, there was just too many holes that couldn't be plugged.
So what you've seen in post 9/11 conflict is a massive expansion of drone strikes, right? Obama this was the hallmark of his presidency for a person like me who's anti-war, right? Obama not only massively expanded, but basically defined modern drone warfare from the American perspective. I'm not saying him specifically, but his administration was responsible for this massive surge in drone strikes in countries that we were not even in conflict with in some cases, right, on paper. And certainly there'd been no declaration of war. And that has just been carried on traditionally by every administration. You know, to Joe Biden's benefit, he actually ramped down the amount of drone strikes versus Trump's first 4 years. You know, kudos for that, I guess, but it's still widely used during the Biden administration and is expected to be widely used in the Trump administration incoming, right? So it's like, and really it's a dollars and cents thing. Do you spend all this money training a huge army of human beings? Or do you just invest in this like next generation warfare shit that only requires you to train a smaller group of human beings to control the drones and do the support work on the drones and blah, 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 right?
They even like have the controls for some of those like as Xbox controllers.
Well, I was watching something the other day, actually last night when I was having trouble sleeping. There's this channel of this dude that does it's called FPV drone. First person view. So they have this cool like goggle thing that they put on, and they've got, like you said, like a Xbox type of controller. Typically the ones that really fly it well, the thing I compare it to is controllers for
Flight simulators.
well, no, back in the day, I didn't get to play with them much, but I watched people do it a lot. Hobby model airplane, like the people that fly the small airplanes, right? That kind of a controller. But rather than relying on your visual acuity from the ground to do things with it, right, which limits the range of what you can feasibly do, an FPV drone can be flown in the first person, real time. So these dudes created a drone that was fast enough to chase an F1 car smoothly, right? And the dude that is controlling this, he was the limiting factor, not the technology, right? Because he had to directly control this drone. So automation.
Yeah.
You
Well,
take
that's
that plus automation, and you just have an army of these little FPV drones that charge themselves, go to cooling stations, or replaced, and you've got a new way that you watch these kind of motorsports. Because legitimately, the cool thing about it, I'm not even into like F1 racing, but one of the cool things about it was there was a drone fast enough and an FPV pilot talented enough to actually have a chase cam on cars that go over 300 miles an hour, which has been impossible. You get drone shots of F1, but it's typically them going or a real high shot, right? You never get a, so you can see how fast shit is moving. It's so cool. So cool.
like automation has, slowly been integrated. Like the fact that there's missile guidance systems is a form of automation.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, like fire and forget missiles have been around since the 90s or the 80s, even the tow missiles or whatever. But yeah, these like automated missile guidance systems have gotten all more sophisticated, right? And you have to imagine that type of guidance system coupled with an automated drone army. There've been a couple of things that like China has invested heavily in these drone swarms, and they're showing them off as these like light shows. But the obvious military implication of such a swarm of drones is fucking crazy, right? And these are drones that can be pre-programmed to do something in a pattern and repetitively. So you just, instead of programming them to make a big 3D dragon in the sky, you program them to swarm an area and drop a payload of micro bombs. And if one of them dies, there's 3 coming behind it that have the same order, right? That's the future of warfare. Automated, or at least automated in terms of execution. So it's like a fire and forget drone swarm, where it's like these drones are already programmed to navigate in urban environments and deliver their payloads correctly. And you just tell them where to go, basically. So there's somebody there going like, okay, send swarm A over here and just reduce, the number of combatants in the area. Reduce the number of buildings that could be used by combatants, right? It just doesn't make sense to me that for anybody to think that the future of warfare involves people's boots on the ground. It just doesn't. We're in the waning days of those types of warfare, and I think, hey, maybe at the very least conscript soldiers will be better for it.
It reminds me of that Star Trek episode in the original series where they encounter a planet that just has completely simulated warfare. You remember that one?
Oh yeah.
Where they just send people into like suicide chambers rather than like actually bombing anything.
Yeah, that was a crazy dude. We need to. I think we need to go watch some Star Trek.
Yeah.
That might be fun to get.
I think it's on Paramount or something.
Yeah, because you've seen TES, right?
I've only seen the original series.
Yeah, but you haven't seen
Next Generation
TNG.
or anything.
Yeah. See, I haven't seen much beyond TNG, but TNG is goated. I think you would enjoy it. There's a lot of fun in it, so I think maybe that'll be something we pick up here.
They've canceled a bunch of other shit. Yeah, we got to give credit to Goat versus Fish. We didn't stick around with AGT after he got booted, but we've gotten a lot of use out of that Peacock that we wouldn't have normally gotten otherwise.
Oh yeah, I like Peacock quite a bit. It's got a lot of like garbage TV on it, and sometimes you just want. Amelia will say it to me. She'll be like, "What do you want to watch, babe? Do you want to do a movie or a show, or do you want something of zero consequence?" And I know exactly what she means. You know what I mean? It's like, do you want some gut bucket TV where nothing is going to happen, and it's just kind of like turn your brain off and drool into your lap? And
yeah. That's what the voice is for us.
The
your
voice.
Social experiment of like how much gangster shit can Snoop Dogg get away with.
Bro, I am just flabbergasted. And you know what? It's just a cultural thing. You know what I mean? But like coming from the 90s when, you know, Bloods and the Crips were legitimately like killing each other and killing bystanders and shit all over the country, right? And these gangs were like public enemy number one. And now Snoop Dogg is openly and unrepentantly crippin' sitting next to Reba McEntire while she laughs. It fucking blows my mind, right? I'm just like, huh?
And every episode is something else.
Yeah. Well, I'm just like, is this something that's incidental with Snoop, or is he actually cripping on TV? And my call right now is he's cripping. So they do these little like audience stunts in between acts in The Voice, right? Where they're just like little cute little things of
Or like a stunt during the pick your judge or pick your coach thing or
right,
whatever.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
And Snoop did this one where like he pulled out a blue rag and started twirling it, and the whole audience had a blue rag and started twirling it. And Reba McEntire, Michael Bublé, and Gwen Stefani are sitting there just falling out, right? And I'm like, so he's got the whole audience cripping, right? He'll C-walk. What's up, homie? Come here. Ah, man, you picked the right team. And he'll fucking like, he C-walk over. He does the rolling, he does the, what is it, the rolling 20s? All the time. Like every time his chair turns around to like prepare for the next act, he's just throw up a quick little, let me just crip. You know what I mean? It's like, what?
And he's doing like weed jokes now. That's cool on TV now.
Yeah, he's just openly like, man, I'm so high. You know what I mean? And the whole audience is like, ah! Dude,
Want
a
some
high
green grass
dude,
on my team.
a black ass high crip was literally America's worst nightmare 20 years ago. And now we're just like, ah! You know what I mean? I'm not saying that it should have been. I'm not saying we should be afraid of Snoop. I'm just saying the cultural shift is wild, right? It's fucking wild. Because, like, he would never have been put on a mainstream, family-friendly show and been allowed to throw his fucking crip rag up and sea-walk all over the stage. It just wouldn't have happened. And now it's just like Reba McEntire loves it. He got her crippin'. You know what I mean? He's got the whole cat. Michael Bublé from Canada is out there. He's crippin' with him. Everybody crips now. You know what I mean? It's like, okay. Yeah, he crip walked in the Super Bowl. So here's the thing. Here's a fucked up, and this is true. You can look into this shit. Kendrick Lamar was part of the Super Bowl performance, right? He had a line about Bloods and Crips in my hood or some shit, right? I don't know what it was, but it mentioned Bloods and Crips, not positively or negatively, just kind of like saying that they existed. The NFL made him change the lyrics to that, right? They would not allow him to mention Bloods and Crips, but then Snoop comes out,
Cornflower blue,
crippin', and it's just like, what? How does he get away with it? It blows my mind, bro.
Yeah. We decided that NBC has picked a side.
Yeah, I have no other way to say it other than NBC is crippin'. NBC is crippin'. Because you know what? If they had somebody that was bloody on the panel too, throwing up some 14s and shit, big 14, know what the fuck going on, you know? Then I would say, well, at least they're like
equal opportunity.
Yeah, they're crippin' and they're bloody. They're kind of trying to do like a harmony thing, but no, they're crippin'. They're 100% crippin'. They got the king of Crips crippin' next to Reba. Here's your one chance, fancy, don't let me down. Crippin' next to Reba. And Reba's just like falling out. She loves it when he crips. Everybody loves it. The whole fucking audience of white ladies is like, bah! It's wild.
Yeah.
Just from a perspective of a dude that lived through the kind of like gang shit in the '90s, and
The first thing that tripped you out though was Gwen Stefani. You were genuinely convinced that that was Ariana Grande.
yeah, that one fucked me up. Because Gwen, and I'm not like whatever, she looks good, so I can't really fault her. But she's had a lot of work done, and I honestly, legitimately, you can call me fucking crazy. When we started watching, I thought she was Ariana Grande.
Until her name came
Now
up.
I've seen Ariana Grande since then, and recently, and she doesn't look anything like Ariana
Yeah.
Grande now.
But like 10 years ago or something.
Well, because Ariana, I don't know what's going on with Ariana, but Ariana needs to eat a hamburger or something. I'm not trying to be like weight conscious or whatever, but she looks like kind of sickly-ish now. And I didn't know that. But like I was thinking of like Ariana Grande when she was maybe at the height of her popularity or whatever. And I honestly thought that she had just gotten older. I was like, oh, Ariana Grande. And you were like, that ain't Ariana Grande. That's Gwen Stefani. And I was like, what?
I'd say the only work that she didn't do super well is like her lip fillers are a little much. Like her mouth doesn't close all the way.
I mean, I got to be honest with you. If I'm going to be super hypercritical of somebody's, decisions on what they want to carve up on their face, I think she's done a better job. But she's also younger than a lot of the people that are trying to do the same thing. She doesn't have Mar-a-Lago face. That's what they're calling it now, Mar-a-Lago face. It's like all of these fucking people that are getting these weird fucking facelifts, right? She doesn't have that. Yeah, I would say you could critique the lip fillers. Maybe a little bit much on the Botox. You know what I mean? But she looks good. She's making it work. She doesn't look much like I remember Gwen Stefani looking. But age will do that to a motherfucker, I guess. I don't know. Gwen Stefani, in my mind, is wearing like a crop top tank top thing. She's got short hair, all spiked up. She's got baggy pants on, midriff kind of thing, and her facial kind of structure is very like punky. Like the way she uses her mouth and stuff is like, I remember her like, because music videos used to be a big deal. I guess they're less so now, but like I remember the way that she would lean into the lip syncing that goes on in a music video was Mick Jagger-ish in terms of how she would lean into the facial expressions and stuff. And that's probably why I don't recognize her much, because I don't think she can do much. You know what I mean? I don't think she's capable. I don't think that range of motion might be kind of limited now, is what I'm saying. I feel like you're describing Pink. I am. Pink is a Gwen Stefani clone. No, I mean, I'm not saying Pink is like without merit. I guess she's made
But
some
Pink has stayed pink. She didn't go full.
Yeah. She leaned into the punky thing. See, here's the thing. We can talk all day about the etymology of fashion and music and how they collide, right? One of the things you need to understand is if you're talking about these punky type of pop singer girls, right, ladies that are doing this punky aesthetic with the colored hair and the pixie cuts and the bare midriffs and stuff, it's very popular, right? Gwen Stefani kind of like, there are two names that you should probably know if you want to know the etymology of the fashion that allowed that to happen and made it popular. One of them is Madonna and one of them is Gwen Stefani. Madonna established the idea that a woman didn't have to be a Susie homemaker, right? And really just hammered it out of society. It's okay for women to be sexy and use our assets in a sexy way. Then Gwen Stefani came along and was a cultural avatar. You know, it was like I said when I was on Destiny the other day, it was, you know what I mean? The 90s was very rebellious and very fuck authority and very suspicious of institutions. And she kind of embodied that kind of like, fuck you, I don't care what I look like, I spit, I sweat, I'm fucking crazy, I strut around like, I'm not saying, I'm not trying to be gendered with it, but like she borrowed a lot from like male rock stars. She had a very Ziggy Stardust, very, like if you were going to compare her to a contemporary, right? Mick Jagger, right? these types of like super hyper front men. She took that energy and made it her unique kind of female thing and provided this template for 1,000 clones, right? There's a reason. Like I'm not trying to glaze Gwen Stefani. I don't really like everything she ever did, but she's on the same, she's in the same conversation as Madonna when it comes to giving women access to the music industry in a way that's more self-expressive and less restrictive of their sexuality, right? And they're just, not even just sexuality, but their bodies. Let's put it that way. How's that? There is no Avril Lavigne without Gwen Stefani, right? And Avril Lavigne isn't even all that popular anymore, but you see the etymology, right? I'm not saying that everybody that came along that availed themselves of this new cultural revolution that kind of arguably was fronted by Stefani is a piece of shit, no account. I'm just saying that if you want to know why music sounds the way it does today, why musicians look the way they do today, the only answer you're going to get that encompasses is going to be to look at what they are influenced by, right? Where did they pull their influence from? Who were they listening to? Who are their parents listening to? Who are they idolizing, right? And the answers to that are really many and varied. Pop culture is pretty fucking ascendant right now. And one of the things I like, I don't necessarily like the way they do it, but I like that they do it, is like, I feel like a lot of young people are appreciative of older media. Not necessarily like obsessed with it or like locked into it, but they're appreciative of older media. And so the influence is pretty broad if you look at musicians, right? Guys like Lil Uzi Vert, you'd think like, okay, big rapper guy. And I'm sure a lot of his influences, I mean, his main influence is Lil Wayne. But if you listen to the guy talk and you listen to his music, you hear a whole lot more influence from nu metal, which is like early 2000s rap rock slash kind of like, yeah, you know, like alt metal is another term that I heard it called back then before nu metal settled in, right? Same goes for XXX Tentacion. That guy, X, was super influenced by like Korn, Tool,
Takashi.
Tekashi 6ix9ine, right? Another guy that if you listen to him about his musical influences, it's punk bands and metal bands, right? And so it's like, if you see something and you don't understand the etymology of it, like this might be like a fun little side project video for me one day, because it's like you could take a guy like Tekashi, right? Look at how he looks, but you stand him next to Sid Vicious, right? Yeah, the tattoos are a little bit more flamboyant on Tekashi. The hair is a little bit more flamboyant, but the attitude is undeniably the same, right? It's like the transgressive nature of their existence is undeniably pushing the same agenda, right? I just think that's cool. Ski Mask idolized Missy Elliott. I didn't know that. Yeah, I like Ski Mask. I just haven't heard him talk about his influences. And I don't think I would have guessed Missy Elliott as one, but that's cool. I mean, I can understand that. She was huge, like just like a culturally huge. And another like unsung hero, honestly, of rap's current position as the #1 genre in the world, right? Is like a lot of people, if they're gonna talk about that, they're gonna talk about Dr. Dre, they're gonna talk about Eazy-E, they're gonna talk about Snoop, they're gonna talk about Warren G, they're gonna talk about you know, just all of these guys. But here's Missy Elliott, right, who dropped probably the most groovable song in recent memory when it came out, you know what I mean, and did more to legitimize the playing of this type of music on a broader array of stations and getting it in front of more people. Like, there's a lot of that goes on in the music industry. Like, unsung female heroes of the music industry, right? These are like women who are not part of the conversation generally when you're talking about the etymology of music or the history of music, that actually did a huge amount of the heavy lifting when it came to legitimizing these new art forms, right? And hip hop is just one example of that. I've talked about this before, but like, I use this as an example, and I wish I could remember the guy's name, but I can't, because I remember the person that was actually about. So there was this 90s female hip hop artist named Da Brat, D-A Brat, right? Da Brat, whatever. Da, we used to mean the, whatever. All right, whatever. Da Brat, right? She was phenomenal. But the way that she was presented to the world, and this is the term that I've used, she was chaperoned. She had to be chaperoned into the rap world by making the song have a feature from a guy where he talks about how he fucks bitches, blah, 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 right? Right? She doesn't get to just dominate the song, right? So Da Brat, I always talk about that. And I'll give you another example of a 90s hip hop star, right? That number one isn't talked about enough. She got a crazy name. Maybe that's why she didn't do it, right? Her name was the Lady of Rage. She used to call herself Rage, right? And she had this song that was on the Above the Rim soundtrack called Afro Puffs. I rock rough and stuff with my Afro Puffs. Rage. It's actually a dope ass song, right? But she is chaperoned in the song by Snoop, who is there to make sure that like the hard ass gangsters know the bitches, and you know what I mean? It's like, fuck. Lauryn Hill is an example of an artist that broke that mold. She was like, okay, I'm gonna lead a group. We're gonna have a band, right? And I'm gonna front the band. Then who's gonna chaperone me, right? I don't know if that was part of her thought process, but that's functionally what happened to her or with her. So Lil Kim had her own kind of stamp on it. I didn't this already happen earlier? This is round 2. It's fucking crazy. Well, yeah, but I mean, if you look at Nicki Minaj, right, a lot of people would reference her. Nicki Minaj, there is no Nicki Minaj without Lil Kim. There is no Nicki Minaj without Da Brat. There is no Nicki Minaj without Rage. There is no Nicki Minaj without Lauryn Hill. Right? These types of things, like, you like to think that it was always accessible for everybody, but it wasn't. Like, music in general was less accessible to women at every point in history other than now, right? I believe that now there's genuine female representation in music, and nobody can argue that it's less than male representation.
Yeah, like I was looking at the Billboard Top 100, and it's that Chappelle Rowan chick and Sabrina Carpenter.
Women, right? So, if you want to know how that happened, because it wasn't always thus, right? You have to look at these kind of artists that, unfortunately, like, the conversation is just not happening yet, right? And I'm not saying it's like it has to happen. I'm just saying it's interesting and historically relevant to have that conversation.
Billie Eilish is another one. Lady Gaga. We have several.
Right.
100.
I look at Lady Gaga and the way that she kind of came on the scene. Madonna. I'm not going to look the way you want me to look. I'm going to look how I fucking want to look. I'm going to use my sexuality however I want to, and I'm going to be flagrant and open with it in a way that is that justifies me.
Mhm.
There is none of that without Madonna. Madonna took women from this, like, I hear the cotton, like there was this very, like, there was another few women that transgressed, right? But they were not hip hop
Mhm.
artists. Oh, what's her fucking name? I'm brain farting because of that fucking goddamn shit. Hopefully it's moving away. Well, Blondie is a great example, not the one I was thinking of. I was thinking she's a '60s lady, did not get, she take another little piece of my heart. Come on, take it. Take another little piece of my heart now, baby. Her cover of that was Janis Joplin, thank you. My mind was kept going, Joan Jett, Joan Jett. And I'm like, we could talk about Joan Jett, but that's not who you're thinking of, Paul's ego. Oh, okay, Joan Jett. It's like, no, Janis Joplin. Thank you. Well, we're watching a movie. We started it last night, Cleopatra, right?
Mhm.
This movie was incredibly transgressive at the time. Like, it was panned for a number of reasons, being over expensive, but one of the reasons was too much sexuality, too much curvature on Elizabeth Taylor's body.
Or like she's treating this man
Hmm.
like a woman shouldn't treat
The
a
idea
man.
that she's a sexual libertine.
Yeah.
She chooses, as if they even say it in the movie, it is said that she chooses partners as a man
Mhm.
chooses partners, right?
If she was a man, they'd even call her wise or whatever.
Right, right. So it's like that movie pushed boundaries, and Elizabeth Taylor is definitely part of this conversation, right? If you go deep enough into the cultural revolution of women being able to take ownership of their body shape and their bodies
Mhm.
and not being restricted to certain types of clothes so that the male gaze could not see how they were shaped and formed, right? Like, it seems
Mhm.
silly now to even bring it up because of things like OnlyFans, right? Like, women are not beholden to that. But how many of those women thanks Elizabeth,
Mhm.
or thanks Marilyn for being willing to take the slings and arrows of a bunch of just like shitty people
Mhm.
who are unwilling to just come to terms with the fact that your body is your body.
Mhm.
Your sexuality is your sexuality. It's okay for you to like sex
Mhm.
and be sexy and sexual as a woman. That was all taboo until these women came along.
Mhm.
A lot of unsung female comedians too. I'll be honest with you. Yeah, my knowledge of female comedians is limited, but I can think of some that are never in the conversation. Paula Poundstone, right? Just an amazing, incidentally, lesbian comedian who was super popular in the '90s and just really did a whole lot to push the idea that women aren't funny out of the conversation, right?
I don't know if you care for the more of the modern female comedians as much.
I don't
You
care
just
for
don't really.
modern comedy.
Yeah. Well.
Period. It doesn't really, like, I'm not saying all of it, but a lot of it just doesn't scratch my itch. I'm a little too edgy
Yeah.
for the kind of careful comedy that
Yeah.
happens now.
And just sick of the I'm being canceled.
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna be canceled for saying this. Like, no, you're not, dude. Just say it. Shut up. You know what I mean? Like, I hate that. I hate that like the cultural puritanism that's been on the rise for the last 5 or 6 years. Like, to me, comedy should be the forefront of fighting against that shit. And I think maybe it will be again, but right now,
Yeah, but couching it all as like I'm gonna be canceled
yeah,
just
it's
takes
just
away the
garbage.
edge. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no edge to it.
Yeah.
Carol Burnett, yeah. Lucille Ball. I mean, these are all women that like challenged this idea women aren't funny. I mean, I challenge you to sit down and binge 10 episodes of I Love Lucy and not laugh your fucking ass off at least 10 times, right? She's fucking hilarious. She just knew it. Physical comedian, had timing. And this was a woman, right? A woman that was very powerful, right? Desilu Productions, right? She was a big producer in Hollywood and took a lot of shit for being a sexual being too. if you look into her history, right? It was all scandals about her cheating on Desi and Desi cheating on her. And like she was expected to shoulder all of this expectation while never being given equality with a man in the eyes of the media and the populace. But she had to suffer all the slings and arrows a man had to. She just couldn't respond to it in the same way a man could. She couldn't shrug it off. Oh, I'm a playboy. I'm whatever, right? It's just interesting, right? And a lot of these women had a fucking, I'm not saying they suffered. They were rich as fuck, most of them, right? But most of them, not all of them. I don't think Lady of Rage is rich as fuck. I don't think Debrat is rich as fuck, bro. Maybe I'm wrong. Story about her fillings picking up secret messages during the war was crazy. Huh? Say, huh? It's just interesting, I definitely find it more interesting to talk about art than I do politics. You know what I mean? I'm more passionate about human artistic expression than I am about human political expression or evolution. And that's just the truth. I think about these things a lot, It was one of the bridges that allowed me to start enjoying some of this new kind of rap music or whatever the fuck, new popular music. Was like going like, oh, I may not have heard this music before, but I've seen this attitude before, and I've seen this expression before, and I've seen this hairstyle before, and I've seen this kind of swagger before, and that's cool. It's cool to have that perspective.
Yeah, we're kind of divergent on which popular music we like. I feel like.
I don't know, divergent. I mean, it's when I catch when I catch something that you're listening to, you've never had, or very rarely have you had something on that I'm like, ugh. I just don't necessarily gravitate to the same type of chill. If you throw that on while we're driving, you've done it before.
Yeah.
I'm chill with it. I actually like the music, but it's not something that I would pick.
Yeah.
Right.
And the same with like your music. I wouldn't pick listening to Ray Schremer. Not that I have an issue with it. That's just not
right. I hate that Ray Schremer is my music, but yeah, it is.
The AI DJ said it.
The AI DJ called me out. Let's take a look at what you've been listening to in the last year. Here's Ray Schremer. I'm like, oh. I do listen to a lot of Ray Schremer, though. I have a whole theory about Ray Schremer. And I think it's maybe like some of it is wishful thinking, but I think they're gay as fuck. My gaydar goes off super duper hard, especially on Sway Lee. The main kind of guy, dude, right? I think Sway Lee is. I think I know which way he swings, dude. And I think that's like coded into their language. If you listen, I've listened to a lot of Ray Schremer now, dude. A lot of deep cuts, a lot of shit that didn't hit the clubs and didn't hit the airwaves and nobody really passed around, right? I think there's a lot of, and I don't got a problem with it. It's interesting to me, but I'm being straight up, legit, and honest with you. I feel like there is some coded ass, we're gay as fuck shit about Ray Schremer. Personally. Did you ever notice the name is Drummer's Ear backwards? Yeah, that's one of the first things, right? That when I was like, what the fuck is that? I thought it was like a Swedish name or something. No, it's just Drummer's Ear. All right, I'll give you an example, bro. I'm gonna pull up the lyrics. I'm not gonna play the song because I'll get popped for it. But let me just say,
Well, look at this picture that's on their Wikipedia.
well, this is part of the problem. I mean, like, there are better ones. I mean, like,
Yeah.
do a Google search right now of Sway Lee,
Yeah.
and tell me that's not, like, I mean, come on, you know what I mean? Like, I want lyrics. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna read you guys some lyrics, right? And I'm gonna have to, like, because there's some N words in here, so I'm gonna say neighbor instead of the N word, right? This is just a Ray Sremmurd song that I think has coded, and you can tell me, maybe I'm fucking, all right, so here it is. Intro, Sway Lee says, boy, it's nasty. And then he says, know some young neighbors like to swing. 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 Big bank take little bank. Every day spilling up drink. She want the whole crew, shorty brave. When money talks, what is there to say? So it's like, that's all I'm saying. And that's like, hop out, drop top, fuck y'all talking, I need it right now. Cash in the air, what goes up, gotta come down.
It'd be weird to have a ton of gay innuendo between them, though, because they're brothers.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing. Here's the thing, though, right? And this is well known. There are like, it is an open secret that there are a bunch of popular hip hop stars that are at the very minimum bisexual, and some of them just straight out gay, right? But there is this macho shit that hip hop can't seem to shake off in its lyricism and its culture.
Like Eazy-E admitting he had HIV was huge.
Well, that's because at that time, a lot of people
gay-ism.
assumed that only gay people got it, right? Yeah. But, you know, to his credit, him admitting that was part of the cultural revolution that made people realize this is just everybody, right? So whatever. I'm not criticizing it. I just think it's a strange issue that hip hop seems to have it's going through its like early phases of dealing with it, right? And I hate to say it, but this is just like entertainers in general. I think there's a greater preponderance of people who are LGBTQ in the entertainment field and its surrounding kind of subfields: music, movies, acting, writing. I think there's a greater preponderance of LGBTQ people in that environment than in any other environment, right? So to think that rap would dodge that and there's just a bunch of just straight ass motherfuckers out there, right? I don't think so. I really don't.
I don't know about Sway Lee. He's had 2 kids with 2 different women.
That I didn't say he's gay.
Yeah, you're just getting.
I'm getting gay vibes, right? So like what I'm saying is like bisexual. He'll fuck anything, right? That's it, but you can't say that. But I think he's saying that in his music, right? Tyler, the creator, hid his bisexuality for a long time. He had to. And if you listen to early Tyler shit, he was like kind of openly homophobic in it too. Like that's one of the ways you hide it, right? not to be rude, I'm gonna go ahead and like take care of you before you get the chance. There you go. That's the best way to ensure that you're not a rude piece of shit. If you think something would be rude, just keep it to your fucking self, bro. If you wouldn't say it to me on the street, don't say it to me here. Right? The easy thing to live by, bro. It's one of the only rules of this stream. I mean, really, the only rule on this stream is respect the fucking vibe, bro. Don't be that guy. Don't be a pick me. Don't be one of these chatters that's trying to make a funny tee-hee ha-ha, because you ain't gonna fucking win it. You're gonna lose that battle, and I'm tired of fighting it. Just bring the same energy that you bring in public to this, and you'll be fine. Most of you will be fine. All right? It's not a big ask. At least from my perspective, it's not a fucking big ask. I don't think Drake will ever come out. I think Drake will be outed in a way that he can't deny before he comes out, right? Dr. Dre was outed in the 90s, and he still doesn't own that shit. I mean, yeah. Look, I can't talk shit. Like, I wasn't, I was a public figure for a long time before I admitted to the people that watch me that I'm bi, right? I was 40 years old when I came out, That's fucking crazy to think about, but it's true. And, some of these dudes, I mean, Dr. Dre was born earlier than me. The social pressure was only stronger when he was a kid than it was when I was a kid. And so it's like, some of these dudes will just never come to terms with it in themselves, right? They see it as some big, horrible thing they fight against, rather than just a natural part of who and what they are, right? How much of that joint popping do you guys hear? How much of that escapes far enough for you guys to hear that shit? Because that shit is crazy in my back, bro. My elbows and shoulders and shit all are like... It's nuts. Party getting old, dude. It's like every time you stand up, your knees go off like two shotguns. Like, what? The fuck is that? Losing friends over being gay weren't worth friendship to begin with. Okay. Oh, I see. There's like a side conversation. Let's chill out on the side conversations because I can't keep up with that shit. You guys talking to each other and responding to each other and shit. I understand, but it just... It's just it ends up confusing the shit out of me. Don't worry about it, man. I ain't I ain't looking for apologies. Just chill out on it. Who? Loving these birds. Loving the sun today too, man. That feels good. Let you guys in on what I've been playing as a video game recently, because I know there's a lot of you out there that play the game. I got this Atlas game, Metaphor de Fantazio. It's kind of like a Persona style game, if you played any of those. And dude, I'm balls deep. I'm all into it now, man. I kind of like the Persona loop, but it's also kind of annoying, right? So I put the game on hard because I figure, like, I'm a man. Let's play the game on hard. I'm on the first big dungeon loop, and like I fucked up to where I have to redo the whole thing because I didn't do it in enough time, right? I spread myself too thin. So I got to go back and do it the right way. And a lot of people would just be like, ah, quit. But I'm just like, ah, Persona. It's like a bunch of shit where you don't really know what you're doing, but you hope you're doing the right thing. So I'm playing on hard, but I'll get through it. It's like I got very deep into the dungeon before I realized, like, I only have one day to finish this, and I got nothing left in the tank. I'm fucked, right? So it's like I know I can beat it. I just got to do better. Got to preserve my resources and use that time better. Get further in the dungeon before I quit to go back and heal and shop and go back in, right? Metaphor, I guess is what you would call it. It's a really good game. One of the things I appreciate about it, right, is I'm a big fan of JRPGs, but I'm really like, as far as Persona games go, I'm really sick of I'm a high school student, I've got to study, I've got to, you know what I mean? Like, everything's like, and this gets you out of that, right? It's a very anime experience, right? But it's well done, but it's not like you're playing a fucking high school student that's got to go to high school every day. It's more of like a fantasy environment, and you know what I mean? It has a lot of those Persona. I think it's a little simplified over Persona, from what I can tell. In terms of like, maybe I'm wrong, maybe some shit unlocks later, but the whole like breeding different, because they don't call them personas in this game, but like, you know, you summon a different, it's more like something you equip. So you have one dude that you can summon in between battles, you can change who summons what. I don't fucking know. Yeah, I actually switched over to the English voice acting in the game, and it's not bad. So yeah, I've been just kind of like playing that. Some RPG mechanics are more involved, some less. Yeah. Well, I'm enjoying it, even though I'm, you know, my first try at the first major dungeon cycle or whatever, I didn't make it, you know what I mean? But I almost made it. I was right there. So I just go back and do it better, you know? That's fine by me. Metaphor pops on the OLED screens too. Oh yeah. Yeah, it looks really good on my OLED. I think the next thing I want to get, because once I get moved, I want to get a TV for my bedroom, right? Because a lot of times I want to sit and watch a movie with Amelia, but I can't fucking get comfortable on a couch. I can't lay on the ground for too long, or my back punishes me for it. I don't know if anybody has this problem, but like, I'll lay on the hard ground, right? And it feels so fucking good. It's like a nice stretch of my back. And I'll get comfortable. I'll prop my head up against something, and I'll just be on the ground watching TV. And I'll lay there for like 30 minutes, and I'll go to get up, and it's like my back is like, nah. It's like something in my lower back is like, you're not gonna stand up. I'm like, well, I have to stand up. It's like, nah. I'm like, what the fuck is this, man? It felt good to lay there, but it's bad for my back. I don't know what the fuck, bro. You tell me. Yeah, I'm probably gonna look into, getting the current TV that me and Amelia have mounted in the bedroom, and then save up a little bit, and I want to get an OLED. I want to get a big OLED, not like obscenely big, but I want to get a nice OLED screen because like I'm a true believer now that I've seen HDR in action. Like I want to see movies with it. I want to see nature shows with it. Like I'm a believer, right? I was definitely like boomerish on it before I ever really looked at an OLED screen, but as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, okay, I see what this is. You know what I mean? What's a better space sim, Elite Dangerous or Star Citizen? Depends on what you're looking for, right? I talked about this a couple of days ago. Elite Dangerous is going to be like more expansive in terms of the size of the simulation. So it's simulating an entire galaxy, strategically speaking, right? Star Citizen is focused on one solar system. But the amount of micromanagement and interesting ways that your ship and your character can interact with one another and different jobs that you can do and the ways that you have to do it is so much more involved in Star Citizen. So if you're looking for that more of a day-to-day sim, Star Citizen is going to be better. If you're looking for a more expansive sim that allows you to have a bigger sandbox to play in, right? You're probably going to look into Elite, right? Well, I mean, you don't have to know life it, but a lot of people do, right? It's definitely a game that, like, if you're looking to beat the game or get like all the money in the game, that's one of the things that I think like ruins games is this mentality of everybody that I gotta beat it, I gotta become the best. You know what I mean? And so you get a lot of min maxing and a lot of people bitching at game developers and studios to take these sandbox experiences and dumb them down to a more World of Warcraft-esque kind of thing with achievements and fucking skill trees and bullshit, right? Like I'm drawn to games that are arcane and complex and hard to master, right? I like that in a game. Not overly so. Not a game that does it with no reasoning behind it, right? There can be an over complexity, but I like a game that isn't holding my hand and going like, "Hey there, little guy. Would you like to learn how to bop a bunny on the head?" You know what I mean? Like I just feel that way. I'll boot up a fucking adult ass game, bro. An adult ass game. Oh fuck, man. I gotta tell you guys something too. I got burned. Because I don't pay attention, right, to like video game media guys. I don't really like, I'm not like reading magazines and watching these review channels and shit. A new Dragon Age game came out. I'm a fan of Dragon Age, bro. I like Dragon Age. I'm a Dragon Age enjoyer. So this game, Dragon Age Veilguard, done come out, right? And I was like, okay, I'm gonna get it. I usually don't buy games at full price, but they were doing like a little flash sale because it had just gotten released. And I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna get the game. Bro. One of the most fucking atrociously hand-holdy, shittily written games I've ever had the displeasure of playing for 10 hours and then quitting. You know what I mean? I was like, what the fuck is even going on, bro? I feel so condescended to. And everything is so simplistic and hand-holdy. It's like, let me fucking do something, man. It's like, no. Every time something happens, there's the time freezes and there's a tutorial. It's like, fuck this. So I got scammed, bro. I got scammed. Now I know that like I can't just go like, oh, something in an old franchise I like came out. Let me play that. I can't do that no more. I can't do that no more. I gotta go and look at what people are saying about these fucking games again, like I used to, I guess. Gotten lazy. Because that was fucking crazy, bro. That game was nuts. So bad. It just felt like a bunch of fucking millennials transported into this hard, dark fantasy setting. It did not work, bro. People were saying shit like, I can't even right now. It's a lot. You know what I mean? It's like, isn't this a world where like brutal dragons and ancient elven gods are waging a war with fucking deadly shit? Like, what is going on? What do you mean you can't even? Shut the fuck up. I just feel so fucking condescended to with that kind of cheap, lazy, pandery kind of fucking zero effort writing, bro. It feels like an AI wrote some of it. I shit you not. I would not be surprised to find out that that fucking game studio had AI write a bunch of fucking dialogue. And then maybe they cleaned it up a little bit by having somebody give a pass or two on it. It genuinely felt that way. It was just dead, right? In this weird attempt to be relatable, they made the whole universe of this game dead to me. Because I would just be like, I'd be, oh man, that's cool looking. Oh, that fucking enemy was badass. And then one of my fucking followers would chirp up and go like, oh my God, I can't even right now. It's like, and I'm like, what? Huh? Who's looking for that? You know what I mean? Why in a Dragon Age, though? If you want to make a fantasy game where it's a bunch of millennials having millennial problems while they fight dragons, go make that game. You know, write a new universe. Why's it got to be a Dragon Age game, though? You know what I mean? Like, zero ability to invest in these characters because they're just shit. Your main character is garbage. Your choices are shallow. You know what I mean? The combat is on rails and just like over tutorialed. The gear system is so simplified, it's fucking crazy. You know, the fucking leveling system is just like fucking baby's first skill tree. You know what I mean? It's fucking garbage. Like, who did they make this for? Like, they sacrificed a fun game in the name of like accessibility and relatability. It's like, ugh. Dumb down the writing, but it's not just the writing that's dumbed down. The whole fucking experience is dumbed down. It's not a Dragon Age game. There's just tactics involved. It's literally a button mashing game. I'm not even fucking joking, dude. It's a button masher. Dodge. Hit your attack button. Cast a spell. Dodge. Dodge. Hit your attack button. Cast a spell. I thought I bought a Dragon Age game, yo. What happened? You get to the part where they all sit down at a table before anyone can say anything, and one of the characters says, so, I'm non-binary. Does that... No, I didn't get that far, I guess. Which character does that? Which character is non-binary secretly? Is it the little elf chick? The quirky little elf chick, huh? Is non-binary. Okay. And that's how it starts. They sit down and go like, so. She goes like, I'm non-binary. It's like, is that, are you trolling with that? Or is that a thing in the game? Which character is it that comes out like that? Because I collected all the characters before I quit. At least the ones that have, you know, that I think that's in the game, the main team. No, it's a thing. Oh my god, that sounds like writing from the game though. I'm not trying to fuck on you. That's the millennial affectation I'm talking about, bro. You're gonna have to give me better than that, bro. I can't with these names. Okay, here's what I remember, and you tell me which one it was. Quirky elf chick, mage chick. Sinister assassin guy. Quirky human mage chick. Big buff warrior chick. And old decrepit sorcerer guy. The dragon bit? Oh, okay. I mean, the dragon breath bitch? I don't remember the names, but that you're talking about the lady that breathes fire, the warrior, the Kunari lady. Okay, or the Kunari they. Okay. Yeah, I guess the aesthetic makes sense, but what do we, you know, like whatever. Like, I don't mind that kind of political side thing in a game, right? So long as they make it fit within the context of the universe. Sitting down at a table with people and going like, so anyway, I'm non-binary, if that's how it fucking comes up, is crazy. That's just crazy, right? I don't know the context around it. I don't know what context would make that fit in the Dragon Age universe when put that way, but you know, I don't regret not keeping going because the writing was driving me nuts, bro. The way that they talk to each other is just fucking so insipid. And I wouldn't mind the lingo if the writing was good, right? But the lingo plus the lazy fucking characters and the lazy portrayals and the lazy performances and the lazy writing, it's just too much lazy, bro. Too much lazy. I couldn't do it. And then there's like, I gotta be honest with you guys, bro. I played this game, right? Like I said, for like 10 hours, trying to figure out like if it ever became a fucking game. And I'm not trying to glaze myself. I put that shit on hard, right, from the jump, because I figured it was gonna be dumbed down. I was right. I'm not saying that but dude, there was not gonna be a challenging moment in this game for me. At 10 hours in, it was gonna be me hammering on the fucking X button on my controller till my thumb was sore until I beat this fucking game. And I'm sorry, I just don't feel like doing it. Like, that's all there is. That's what the gameplay is stripped down to, right? And then the writing doesn't even pop. Like, there's not even a reason. It's almost like a quick time event, bro. In comparison to the type of game that I'm hoping it is, it's literally I jam on X, jam on Y, jam on B to dodge, and you know there's nothing was gonna fucking challenge me in this game on hard. The writing sucks. The characters are empty and vapid from what I had little interaction with some of them. You know, I quit after I collected the motherfuckers because I was like, this ain't gonna get better. And it sounds like it doesn't. I don't care that the story is there, bro. You want to make a character that's having gender identity issues or something and weave it into a dark fantasy world, bro? If the writing is good, I'm going to eat it up. I don't give a fuck, bro. If the writing is so bad and ham-fisted, well, I don't know if it's pandering to a minority because I think it's just pandering to a cultural trend, right? We're going to make a hyper-inclusive Dragon Age. It's like, okay, is it going to be fun to play? No. Are the characters going to be fun? No. Is it going to be hard? No. Okay. Well, scratch Dragon Age off the list of fucking franchises that I thought were good. You know what I mean? Like, okay. Had to learn that fucking lesson. Especially when you have metaphor and contrast. Right. I mean, like, look. I'm not trying to compare and contrast, but yeah, I mean, good writing, great art, compelling gameplay loop, tough, actually hard, right? Actually challenging on hard mode. Crazy, right? Yeah. Right? That's what I care about. I'm not going to be one of those people that's like, don't put your politics in your game. That's what artists have been doing since the very fucking beginning. That's where your politics go, right? If you're an artist, that's where your politics go. Just do it in a way that's artful. You want to do an inclusive game where there's like a lot of female characters and there's a non-binary gender identity issue and there's some gayness and all of that, right? Some lesbianic shit. I'm fine with all of that. I got a problem with none of that. Make the game fun, make the characters pop, make the writing good, and you got me. That's it. Those are the three things you need. And if you fail on all of those, I just fucking that's it for me, bro. I would avoid BioWare entirely. Yeah, I'm gonna take that advice. I would have probably just been like, fuck you. You know, BioWare made a couple bad games, so what? But now, like, yeah, dude, that's just shovelware shit, bro. I feel duped because I played it way too long to get a refund on it. But I would legit refund that game. Like, I honestly feel cheated by that game. I feel like that game was like packaged as something it wasn't. You know what I mean? But you live, you learn. I guess BioWare's done, donezo. That's okay though. I mean, there's a lot of great video games and shit being made. There's a lot of like, interesting indie titles and really big AAA titles that are pushing the boundaries and stuff. You just gotta fucking search to find them, I guess. Yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll fucking email them or whatever. Life is white and I'm black. Jesus and his lawyer are coming. Yeah, eels. Eels. Oh, my darling, will you be here before I sputter out? I love the eels, man. Thanks for the $5. I guess it's not the eels. It's just eels. My bad. Well, I love that band. Ooh, Flappy Bird. Where you going, birdie? Anyway, I think I'm done. I'm gonna wrap this up.